Hey, 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 Blaque Out family. It is the Mrs., aka Roni, aka Pastor Roni, aka Auntie for the Cookout. And I have the pleasure and the delight of doing an interview for us. And who am I interviewing today?
Hello, guys. My stage name is Tay Monet out of Tampa, Florida. But my birth name, given name, is Nicole Levy.
All right. And so Nicole she is our stand-in, our representation, our honorary Marsha P. Johnson. Yay. Because we know that for honoring Marsha and her work in Stonewall and the LGBTQIA movement itself, gay pride, all of those things, she is receiving her very own statue in New York to honor
Yes,
her work
Martha.
there. And so Nicole did a photo shoot. Yay. You all will be seeing that in Blaque Out
Yes,
Magazine.
yes,
And she was our Marsha. And so, in order to sort of take that to the next level, we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to reflect on what Marsha meant to the community, what Marsha means to Nicole personally. And then we're going to just chat with Nicole, find out what's going on with her down in the Tampa area. I mean, everybody wants to be down there where the sun is shining, but we also know there are some very
Hi.
dramatic things going on down there in Florida as well. And so, really, all of that to be a culmination. So, I hope that you'll stick with us and enjoy the next few minutes as I have a conversation with Nicole. So, Nicole, just in that idea of reflecting on who Marsha is to us and that she's being honored with this statue, what part of her legacy would you say has had the greatest influence on where you are right now in your story?
Well, as many people know, first of all, thanks for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to represent the community, to represent myself, and to give honor to Marsha and Sylvia Rivera. But to answer your question, Marsha and Sylvia, their identity and who they were, and that need to be who they were, they started an entire movement, and a movement which set fire to not only the New York City area and the village and the LGBT community there, but it set a firestorm and a precedent throughout the country. What many people do not know is like pride parades started off not as parades; they were not celebrations. Stonewall was a riot, and that led to yearly rallies around that time to commemorate the night that they said enough is enough. So Marsha's legacy is still felt to this day, and it's impacted me because I've gotten to see over the years, my being 44, my coming out, if you will, back in the 90s when I was like 13.
Mhm.
I'm one of those people who I always say I was never in. It was kind of odd for me to come out to my family because they were like, duh. Like, yeah, we get that. We got that. You've been you since birth. We got that. But
Yeah.
her legacy still lives on through the celebrations, the education, and the fact that we're discussing her now. She's
Absolutely.
directly impacted me.
Yes. And so you mentioned your family. We know, of course, part of Marsha's story is that was always, a sticking point. She grew up in a very conservative environment, very religious household. And so that familial relationship was very difficult for her. But I heard you mention that your family was sort of like, honey, you weren't telling us anything we didn't already know. And so
They're
share a little bit for us because so many in our community unfortunately do not have that experience. And so, what do you say to those that are not having that? How can they sort of create that same warm, welcoming environment for themselves?
well, when it comes to my family, I grew up in a family that has always been diverse.
Mhm.
I had uncles who were Caucasian. I have an older cousin who is trans. Growing up in this environment where everyone was different, one of my aunts dated a temptation.
All
back
right
in the
now.
60s. So like my family is always kind of in their own way, although not close to perfect, they've always been extraordinary individuals.
Mhm.
And they allowed each other to be who they were. And that was just extended to me through my identity. It wasn't something that they felt like they were giving permission to, but in my family, it was, well, you're our family. We love you regardless. So that was important. My family was a catalyst for that comfort.
Yeah, and that really is important. It's one of those things, like I said, it doesn't always happen within our community, but you do. I mean, if you know what a loving family, what you would want to create, if you don't have that by birth, then
If you don't
create.
have it, you can go and seek it. And that was another thing that my family, especially my grandmother who raised me, my mom is still in my life. She's always been, but
Mhm.
I was in my grandmother's home. But the one thing she always allowed me to do was to go and get the answers that she couldn't give me.
Mhm.
I was able at 15 years old to go to the Stonewall Rebellion in New York City, at the Stonewall bar itself. They had a rally outside. I got to be amongst that. She didn't understand it. She didn't get why I had to go, but she knew that there was something I was seeking that would be a part and integral to my growth. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
forever grateful for being
Yeah.
allowed that. Forever.
That's a powerful thing. And it really makes a statement, right? And so we really, for our young people who are in situations where they don't have that familial support, or even if they do, like you mentioned, there are things that, our family can't necessarily answer or they can't give us and that sort of thing. So that's a wonderful thing. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
And
welcome.
I'm just going to tell you one of the great things that you have. Marsha had that iconic smile, and you have that. It's amazing. Thank you. It's
Oh,
so,
thank you.
yes.
That's so sweet. That's so
And
sweet.
it was really, I mean, even more so, it speaks to that she was able to do that, despite the barriers that she faced. So, how is it that you personally hold on to your own joy, when you're facing difficult times?
You don't, there's something that I say often that I've heard. Be careful of the monsters that you chase
Mm,
because you in that journey might become one. So
wow.
I'm very careful when people, um, especially whether it be government or in a personal interaction, I'm very careful never to give my power away. I'm
Mm,
very, very careful not to do that. Forgiveness is a big part of your own healing. So I
mhm.
hold on to my joy because at the end of the day, if it doesn't feed me, if it doesn't do other things, then I gotta pay it no mind.
Yeah.
That's I gotta pay it no mind. It if it doesn't directly affect me now. However, I live in Florida. There are powers that be that are working against the very community that I'm from.
Mhm.
However, we have to choose love,
Yeah.
even when the other side doesn't. We have to. That is how I hold on to my joy. I'm not giving that away. That is my priceless asset.
I love it. I love it. See, that's never, I'm not going to come out of my character for you. No. And I'm not going to fight your hatred with hatred. I'm going to fight it with love. I think
I
that is,
was raised better than that.
yes. All right. Now represent the family. My mom used to always say, when you leave this house, you represent
Yeah,
this
you
family.
represent me. Yeah, yes.
Yes, yes. So that is so true. And just like you said, we know that that P for Marsha stood for pay it no mind, honey. And
Mhm.
so thinking about just sort of what you just said, what does that phrase mean to you? Pay it no mind. What are some things that you think you live through that phrase in pay it no mind?
Sometimes you just gotta roll your head and give out 1,000 bless your heart because not you can't expect yourself out of other people, and you're not for everybody, and everybody is not for you. So
Yes.
I don't ask to be in spaces where I'm not welcome, and I don't want to be around nobody who I can't truly be myself around. It's
Mhm.
okay for
Mhm.
people not to like me, but
Yeah.
it's so not okay for you to disrespect me. There
Yeah.
is a difference. I don't
Very.
want your acceptance. I don't want to be around you. Just respect that I'm over here existing, and I'll give you that same grace.
I love that. Yes, yes. Tell
Hallelujah.
them, honey. Tell them. Now, that same idea about respect. I mean, when we think about respecting individuals, it has to do with, just our basic needs. How can I take care of myself? How can I do that? And we know that for Marsha, unfortunately, one of the things that she struggled with was homelessness and providing for herself, and ultimately had to turn to sex work for herself. But do you think that that's still a major issue within our community? And what sort of ways do we need to really kind of try to think about rectifying that?
Well, it really all goes back to community. There's an old adage that it takes a village to raise a child. And I think universally, we've gotten away from that. Within the trans community, the LGBTQ plus community, especially, because
Mhm.
we have parents who just vehemently push back against their children's choices, lifestyles, and decisions, that we've gotten away from that notion that we all build character in a person and we all contribute to the next person's happiness, whether it be directly feeding someone or like I work in the service industry, a smile when serving you your eggs. We give each other that energy, and it's unfortunate that we've gotten so far away from the sense of community to build a person. I
Mhm.
feel like that's gotten lost not only in the queer community, in the Black community, which I'm Black before I'm anything else. So, I'm a little harder on us than I am anybody else because I care. But
Yeah.
it's sad that we've come to a place where we're like, don't you speak to my child. You ain't got no right to say that. Well, sweetie, if I see your child acting a fool, I'm gonna call you first, but I'm gonna check that
Yeah.
because these kids out in these streets grow into adults who make mistakes. So
Mhm.
if we all as a community and as neighbors can help course correct whatever wrongs going on with our children, do you know we'd be unstoppable?
Mm,
Do you know how unstoppable we would be
honey,
if we
preach.
would just get those petty differences out the way and help each other? I think in Marsha's time, it was almost impossible to get there. There were so many other layers, and at Marsha's time, we were still dealing with racism. We're still dealing with it now, but we're talking Marsha was maybe first generation queer person to come out of the dark ages where homosexuality and things of that nature were looked as mental illnesses.
Mhm.
So, she was a part of the first generation to just be adults in this world,
Yeah.
to be able to go get a job.
Yeah.
So, have things improved? Yes, tremendously. I
Mhm.
feel like as a trans woman in this country, I've worked hard to let what's up here be my asset. We've all had hard times, but I just think if we get back to the sense of community and get back to helping, taking care of one another, we can eradicate what Marsha and Sylvia and so many people had to go through by homelessness, living on the piers, sex work. We can be the change we want to see through education, through work. We can get there.
Yes, that is, I mean, that's so true. That sense of community, I mean, we just really cannot trade it for anything. And obviously, I mean, that's a part of, ultimately what she was doing when, she created Star, that space for young
Ah,
people, trying to get them off the streets. And I do think that we sort of um unfortunately, in some ways we do close ourselves off. But you did mention about, specifically the Black community, and how does that impact us as as a part of, the alphabet mafia. That's what I like to call us.
that's what they love to call us, and I'm not mad about it.
Okay. And so really in thinking about that, for her, obviously growing up in a religious environment, and many people of color obviously come up in families that are impacted by what we try to bring off as faith, but obviously just really sometimes just comes down to a bunch of religious rules and that sort of thing. But what sort of impact has faith had on you as an individual? Do you have a do you have a practice of spirituality, and what does that look like for you every day?
Believe it or not, I grew up in a very, how do I put this? I grew up in a very religious home. My grandmother was religious. She was a Christian. However, I love sharing the fact that there's a difference between spirituality, religion, the practice of religion, and extremism.
Mm-hmm.
I've never grown up in an extremist environment when it comes to my relationship with God. So I've always grown up with the notion that through the gospel, we bring people to Jesus. We bring people to God where they are.
Mm-hmm.
That is how we spread the gospel. And we hope through the word, and we hope through fellowship, and we hope through those things that we bring people closer to God so that they can make personal decisions on their own and how they reconcile their relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
It's not a bunch of people Bible beating and telling you you're going to hell for X, Y, Z. Yeah, you're telling me I'm going to hell for my existence, but Pastor, sir, I'm sorry. That was not your wife that I saw with you the other night. And I'm gonna need you. I need you to read your Bible, sir. You know, there's just a lot that goes on within extremism that I think needs to be addressed because unfortunately I feel like really good Christian values and really those churches that really are a part of the community get a bad rep, get a very bad rep, and it's a destruction of something that's so good.
Yes.
And people sell that out for money or attention, and they do it all in the name of the Lord, and that frightens me.
Mm-hmm. I tell people, don't misrepresent my faith. That's what I cannot stand. Do not misrepresent my faith. You call yourself a Christian or whatever religion you follow, and then you take it to that extreme and it turns.
If you spend more time damning other people than you do praising the goodness of the Lord, where does your heart really lie, though?
Yeah.
That's just my thing.
Hey, I'm with honey. I'm telling you, you are not telling me anything that I don't stand with. I'm right.
Too busy celebrating his goodness.
Hello.
I'm on this good YouTube channel doing an interview. This is his goodness.
Yes. And when we talk about that, and we talk about, during Marsha's time, we know that ultimately she did contract HIV. And at the time, first of all, it was a death sentence, really, and it came with so much misinformation in the way people were treated at that time. Do you think that that climate is still the same? Do we still behave the same way around the topic of HIV? And, if things have changed, how have they improved or how have they gotten worse? Or
I think personally, I think the stigma and the dogma of what it means to live with HIV and AIDS has definitely changed for the better. I grew up in the 80s where like on the news every night they were discussing HIV and AIDS, and at one point in my life the only thing that I related to being queer was having AIDS or HIV. And that is a part of the misinformation and education that you were speaking of. There was such a narrative that said to be different, to be different, to be gay, to be a sex worker, to be Black even. It means you're gonna die or you're going to have HIV or AIDS. So I'm glad that we have moved away from that. And cheers and congratulations, and I'm going to say it, to our community, especially the Black queer community and all of its allies who help globally shape the conversation, not just in the United States, but globally impacted how we view HIV and AIDS today, how we have come up with treatments, how people are living undetectable. And it's just an amazing thing to live through and see. My own personal story, I grew up, my God, when I was 17 years old, there was a group of maybe good 12 of us, trans and gay individuals. We were best friends. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. How you doing? How you doing? We ate ramen noodles and drank 40 ounces. How you doing? That was the nutrition we had. Hello. It was the 90s, so no, there wasn't anything to capture the moment. But
thank goodness. Thank goodness.
thank goodness. Yes, nothing to look back. No face, no case. That's how I look at it. But I say all that to say that by the this all took place in about 1996 and went all the way to about 2004. And by the time we had gotten to 2012, out of 12 of us, there's 4 of us left. Most who lost their battles to HIV and AIDS, and I celebrate my friends.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
I got tested. I took the precautions. That doesn't make me lucky, doesn't make me anything. It just made me a survivor of the AIDS epidemic.
Yeah.
And so I celebrate my friends, and I celebrate those who advocate for just the world we live in now, which is a better place with HIV and AIDS.
Yes. Wow. That is such a powerful thing. And I really appreciate you sharing that. And I just think, it's one of those that we live in, day and age. We know that, say their name, right? Because we're talking about violence against the Black and brown communities, and just thinking about, even we were utilizing that even before now, right? Because I remember when the AIDS blanket was traveling around the country and everyone was adding channels to it, and still able to do that. But really,
fun fact, when I was 16 years old, I was actually in a production called Quilt, which used some of the actual quilts, and I played one of the characters who a quilt was made for.
Wow.
Just fun fact.
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah, but that statement, and to really think about, when the significance that Marsha had on our community, because really and truly, those of her time period, right? And of course, you know you mentioned her bestie, right? And so, like, this group, and just like you and your friends, you all relied on one another, and that's what brought you to this point. You were able to survive together, you held each other down, you went through the ups and the downs and that sort of thing. But really and truly, that
oh
condemnation, right? Yeah, that condemnation of who we are as individuals and building that community that we've talked about. I mean, it really is. It's a powerful thing. And especially, we know the statistics for our young people. And when they don't, you don't have acceptance at home, and then now you're hearing all these negative things out in the street and that sort of thing. When you don't have the opportunity to build that community, they are obviously much more likely to succumb to those suicidal ideations,
because they want to be they're sometimes behaviors become dangerous when you're looking for love.
yes.
And unfortunately, a lot of that happened. Just people looking for love, and that's not only in the LGBTQ plus community, but also in the heterosexual community, in the Latino community, and many communities around the world. People just looking for love. So, again, let's love on each other a little bit.
I know, that is so true. I think really and truly, if we think about it, I think Mr. Coronavirus really, brought that to some people's, really, their ability to acknowledge and own the fact that we have started to sort of divide ourselves and separate ourselves, and we're not leading with love. We're leading with anger, and we're leading with those kinds of things, and it's doing damage. And so certainly that message, I think, is so important. So, thinking about leading with love, so Miss Nicole, you're married. And tell me a little bit about your love story. Tell me about your boo thing.
Well, we got engaged, oh my God, 3 years ago now, in the pandemic. I, I, you know, when you're lucky and blessed enough to find your person, you walk in that truth, and you love your person. One of these days I will totally love to walk down this aisle with this man.
Okay. All right. So you guys
I
haven't
believe
walked
in
down
the,
the aisle yet. Okay.
no, we haven't done it. That's my fiance.
Okay.
He made our engagement very special. He did
Yeah.
it on my birthday.
Oh.
It was very sweet, and I'm smiling because it. I'm honoring Marsha. I'm old school. I come from a place, especially within the LGBTQ plus community, where finding men, especially men who I identify as straight men, who are comfortable to walk with you, to be with you, to claim you. I, I come from an old school place to say, like, when I met that man, and after 2 years, that's my husband. Now that
Yes,
we're going into
honey.
year 4 and 5, that's my husband, because
Yes.
he don't do boyfriend things. We
Yes.
don't do girlfriend things. We do husband wife things.
All
We
right now.
uplift each other. We support each other. We help. We're there. We listen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes even when we're mad, we take the idea of walking away off the table. So the only thing we lead with is the intention to fix it.
Yes.
Something goes wrong, baby, let's fix it. So
Yes.
that's my love life in a
All
nutshell.
right now. I love it. That is fantastic. And honey, I know when you get ready to walk down the aisle, it's going to be fantastic. So I will be expecting my invitation.
Ah,
Uh,
thank you.
and so, you know what? You really alluded to it in talking about sort of that idea of what dating was like for you before you met the one. And
Oh
sort of,
God, I had a string of not the ones. I
yes.
had a whole team of not the ones, but
Yes.
every single one of them taught me something and about myself and my ability to love. Because
Mhm.
sometimes, especially when we're young, we don't know what we're doing. We're just
Mhm.
two feeble bodies throwing ourselves at each other, hoping that something sticks. Really, we are two
Yes.
clunky bodies just trying to make it work. But
Yes.
hopefully, with every relationship, I grew a little bit and
Yeah.
learned a lot of bit about myself and my intention to love, what my love language is, what I'm willing to bring to the table, what I'm willing to tolerate,
Mhm.
and being able to know when I am being loved.
Yeah.
That's most important.
Oh, yes. Yes. Recognize when you are being loved. Oh my goodness.
Because
And
sometimes you can be being lusted and all out of things, but that's not
hello.
love.
Okay. Yes. So, question about that because you talked about your younger self. So, if you could give your younger self a message, what would it be?
Oh my God, don't be in such a hurry to grow up. Take your time. Calm down.
Because those bills will be there. Okay.
Yeah, calm down. This was not the adulthood I had in mind. Not, this wasn't
Right.
the economy I grew up in.
Hello. Okay. Yes. Our youngest daughter, who still lives at home, she actually said that to us a few months ago. She said, "So I've been studying the economy, and I think I'm going to be here for a while." Just honesty, right? Just honesty.
I think I'm gonna be here. I love that. That she's like, hey, before y'all come to me, I want you to know I've done the work. I've
Yes.
done the work. And I think that this would be a better situation if we all just pitched in.
Let's just accept it.
I'm
Let's
not,
just accept it. This is
right,
where
let's
we
just
are.
get
This
this
is where,
over with. You did a good job.
hey, thank you. I mean, just honesty, right? And so, you talked about your family and that sort of thing. And so, if you were to think about someone that you admire, we know obviously the work that Marsha did in our community, but on a personal level, who is your hero or your heroine, someone that you really admire, and what is it about them that makes them so special?
Well, it's not just one individual, it's a few individuals. It would be my grandmother and her children. Those
Mhm.
would be my heroes, including my mom, my aunts, my uncles.
Yeah.
These people have poured so much love into me and have shaped me in their own image throughout the course of my life that to me, they become one conglomerate of hero. They have
Yeah.
taught me to love. They've taught me to love myself. They taught me how to represent myself in this world. And most importantly, they didn't take me too seriously. You know, they treated me like every other, like, you know, I wasn't extra. I wasn't this anomaly. Their protection and their love for me really helps me put that out in the world. So they will always be my heroes, and especially my grandmother, because she put up with all of her kids and then raised her kids, and she just was never left alone.
Yes.
And I don't know how the woman did it. I don't know how. At some point things switched, especially after the passing of my grandmother, and I have become one of the matriarchs of my family, especially my nuclear family of my mom. You know, my mom's getting up in age, and stepping into that role was stressful.
Yeah.
And it is stressful, but I always do it in her spirit, in my grandmother's spirit. I even changed my last name when she passed away to have her last name so that I would be Mrs. Levy too, just like my
Wow.
grandmother.
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful thing. I love it. See, I'm telling you, if nothing else, you surely have shared how to live really in who you are and appreciating experiences and those kind. I mean, that's just amazing. All right. So was there like a moment where you just realized sort of, I mean, we all go through awkward phases. I mean, even with a super supportive family, we all have, moments where we might doubt ourselves and that sort of thing. But what was something that sort of really just a moment where it was like, boom, I am definitely comfortable in my own skin?
I would say it was the night, it was, I'm about to give you an exact date, and I'm going to
Oh,
tell you why.
yes, yes.
March 22nd, 1994. No, no,
Okay.
93. March
Okay.
2nd, 1993, because I went to New York in 94. In 93, at an event called Bids for Bachelors in Buffalo, New York, where I'm from. I was a part of the Gay and Lesbian Youth Services, which is a youth group out of Buffalo. And they counsel, and we go on field trips. I went to the Stonewall Rebellion with that youth group, but they had us perform. And I remember I was a dancer. I graduated of performing arts in Buffalo.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I remember them being like, "Well, hey, you guys are dancers. Do you guys want to like do a drag performance?" And so we were like, "Yeah, sure. Why not? This will be fun." I remember getting dressed and going out, did my thing,
Mhm.
and I came backstage, and all my friends were there, and the people, were there, and I was socializing. And I remember looking in the mirror and watching myself have a conversation, and I was like, oh my God, this
Yes.
girl that I'm looking at is me, and
Yeah.
I am her.
Yeah.
And I'm so comfortable, and I am so happy right now that
Yeah.
I want to be in this moment for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And I never looked back.
Wow.
Never.
Yeah.
This lady was born that night.
Hello. Yes. See, I
Lady
mean
was born that
that positivity, I'm telling you, because see what normally happens for us, right? We look in the mirror and we start picking apart the things we don't like. So I love the fact that your moment was looking in the mirror and recognizing the beauty of who you
I
are.
loved for the first time in a long time, I wasn't confused about what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Not that I have ever been masculine, even when I identified as a young boy. I always tell people, I mean, I identify as she and her because I mean, I've been she and her. I'm 44 now since I was 14. So I don't know any other reality. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I just don't. No matter what you think of trans people, no matter what you think, that's not my truth. I can't identify with something I've never been. To have a conversation of if I was born male, yes, absolutely. But I've never lived in manhood. I've
Yeah.
never experienced it. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
So moving on, this is the space that I live in me, she, her, as a trans woman. And that woman is very proud of herself. I have insecurities just like everybody else. I often feel fat. I often don't like how I act. I often can't stand some of the things that I say. But at the end of the day, I gotta love the skin that I'm in. And
Yes.
this is what I got. This is what I got to work with. And I'm gonna own it.
Yes. That's it. That's it. It's beautiful. I mean, in reality, right? We all have moments of doubt and insecurity, but the overall aspect is to love ourselves.
Love ourselves.
Yeah. And so the thing about changing, right? And growing. So if you would imagine yourself 10 years from now, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh my goodness. Somebody's boss somewhere, sitting in somebody's office, mine,
Yes.
sitting in my office. As I mentioned earlier, I'm really loving my time in the hospitality industry,
Hmm.
serving and bartending and just banquet serving and setting up. I know that it sounds weird because it's really hard work, but it's something that I love
Hmm.
because I just thrive in those environments. I
Yeah.
love to move around. I love to think on my feet. I love working with others. And um, it's directly related to nursing in my head. And I was in nursing for years.
Hmm.
I love taking care of people. I
Yeah.
love watching people go through an experience with me and walking away with a smile.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And not only me, but the companies I work for. You know,
Yeah.
I that makes me happy to make our guests happy. So I hopefully in 10 years see myself running someone's resort and just or a hotel or that those are my dreams.
Yes. Well, I tell you what, I mean, I know that you would thrive in that because you definitely give off that energy. So, your own energy, your own story. If you were to write your life story as a
Ah!
novel, what would the title of that book be?
Oh my God, the title of that book would probably be something like My Truths and the Secrets of Those Whose Secrets I've kept.
Ooh, oh my goodness gracious. I'm waiting for that one. I
You're
love
right. Have a secret.
the
Some of
juicy
those whose
stuff.
secrets
Uh-oh.
I've
Ooh.
kept. Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna
Well,
find out.
because at some point you got to let it all out. At some
Yes,
point you got. Now, mind you, I'm gonna change all the names to
yes.
protect the innocent and the guilty. But yeah, that's the title for me.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, is there anything else that you feel like our viewers that we didn't touch on or that our readers that I'll include in the article? Anything that you just want to
I
share that
just
I
want to
haven't mentioned?
thank you guys for giving us this opportunity. I did get to do this photo shoot. Shout out to Miah, my sister, who you'll get to meet. But shout out to her for doing this journey. Shout out to you guys for just being so warm and just giving me a chance of a lifetime in a lot of ways to
Oh,
channel Marsha. That's like a
yes,
dream come true. So that's a
yes.
priceless feeling. So to the
Oh,
viewers, love the skin you're in and take care of yourselves and each other.
amen to that. Now, if any of our viewers want to touch base with you, how can they get in contact? Maybe
You
right
can,
now someone is saying, you know what, I'm looking for a resort manager right now in Florida. How am I going to get in touch
oh
with
my
Nicole?
God. So yeah, my email is tgirlaction
Hey,
813 at gmail.com. That's tgirlaction at gmail.com. You can also contact me on Facebook. It's Nicole Taylor Monet, Nicole Taylor, Taylor, Monet, Monet at facebook.com. Feel free to inbox me. I do private parties, I do birthdays, I do bingos. Let's make some events happen. I also do motivational speaking. So if you're looking for somebody to share the word and help uplift a crowd, I'm your girl.
all right, that is fantastic. Well, Nicole, it has been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I have enjoyed speaking with you even before we
Thank
started
you.
the interview.
Yeah.
Every time we've talked on the phone, it's just been a joy. You definitely have kept me laughing. You're such a sweetie pie. So I'm so glad that I got to do this. And so, guys,
Thank
don't forget,
you.
Yeah, Blaque Out Magazine. We do come out monthly, as my spouse always says, where Black and Brown queer excellence exists. So don't forget, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the magazine. You're going to get more of this great content, okay? Because these are the things that are happening. And as we're continuing to try and strengthen our community, we have to support one another. So I hope you've enjoyed this evening's interview. I hope that you are somewhere being loved and loving on yourself. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.